Welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Bajo.
And I'm some dude who managed to sneak past security.
Yes, Dave Callan, comedian, gamer, entrepreneur, alternative model. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Dave, and for filling in for Hex, who's over at the Electronic Entertainment Expo, otherwise known as E3. And a big thank you for filling in for Andrew Bindi Hansen, who apparently is too busy to hang out with us this year.
Yeah, well, I've heard he's a hardcore noob. Anyway, Bajo, I pawned him once on Cooking Mama 3, Chop and Shop, arguably the best in the series.
You may also notice that we're not in our usual set, and that is because Dave has a special request. You'd like to unveil something today, I believe.
Yes, in the spirit of E3 and all the consoles being announced, I would like to invite you to the Dave Callan Good Game TV Electronic Entertainment Expo 2013. I will be announcing my own console concept.
Also coming up later in the show, Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS.
Now that's strategy.
But first, can you guess the game for this week?
It shall be.
Right, well, I'm going to go read the news, Dave, which is quite a long walk from here, so just make yourself at home.
Good game.
Hi there. E3 2013 has been and gone, delivering more games and announcements than you can shake a move at. Microsoft kicked off the show announcing a new redesigned Xbox 360 and the end of Microsoft Points. The upcoming Xbox One console is set to release locally in November and promises exclusives such as Respawn's Titanfall and Dead Rising 3. There are some Xbox One restrictions on second-hand games, and details aren't 100% crystal clear yet, but you will apparently be able to share your games digitally with up to 10 friends. Sony followed by unveiling the PS4 hardware, which is also due out locally by Christmas. In contrast to Xbox One, Sony confirmed the PS4 would not carry restrictions on used games or have any online authentication requirements. However, PlayStation Plus will now be required for online multiplayer. Exclusives to the PS4 will include the Order 1866 from developer Ready at Dawn. Nintendo were last off the block with a special Nintendo Direct E3 video instead of a media conference, announcing new games for the Wii U that include a new 3D Mario and Smash Brothers. Longtime Metal Gear voice actor David Hayter confirmed earlier in the year that he would not be voicing Snake in the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 5. And now his replacement has been named. 24-star Kiefer Sutherland will now be providing the voice. Hayter wished Sutherland well over Twitter, saying, "Great actor, good man, the game will probably still be excellent."
Snake, we've got to go.
Good game.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far from Mass Effect, BioWare gave us their first dose of epic sci-fi with Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. And to this day, it's one of the deepest gaming universes a Wookiee/Jedi like me can explore. And now it's been crammed into this tablet version. That's tablet computer. They haven't crammed it into a pill matrix style. That technology is still several months away.
I bet it's pretty rough down there.
You didn't think I'd forget about you.
Knights of the Old Republic may be 10 years old, but it still packs an encyclopedic amount of detail.
You know what else packs an encyclopedic amount of detail?
Are you going to say an encyclopedia?
Yeah.
There's a war raging between the Republic and the Sith. And not only do you get to choose which side of the war you wish to fight on, but you can control every detail, down to which hand your character holds his blaster in. You can manipulate all sorts of stats to engineer the perfect warrior, but the beauty of this game is that your actions speak louder than your stat buffs.
I'm free to go? You're not gonna kill me?
When you opt to protect the innocent, you'll gain light side points and set yourself on the path to a hero of the Republic.
Or you could just be like Darth Dave and go around being a massive jerk.
Fine. Take these credits to seal your tongue, then leave this place. I don't want to have anything to do with a monster like you.
In terms of gameplay, imagine Mass Effect crossed with Baldur's Gate, and the reason that's accurate is because BioWare made this after Baldur's Gate and before Mass Effect.
Here's a bounty on your little green heads. I'm here to collect.
You can definitely see the beginnings of the Mass Effect formula here. Renegade and Paragon are a direct descendant of the Jedi-Sith sliding scale.
They've done an okay job of adapting to the touchscreen. Selecting options and items is fine. Movement is clunky though, because you're walking and looking around with one finger. So this means you'll smack into a few walls, plus there were a few times where the game glitched out and I got stuck on the floor. Overall, Dave, I struggled with this on the touchpad and I wish I was playing it on the PC version, but then I went and played the PC version and it's still pretty wonky on that.
Still, the game pauses when you enter into any dangerous situation and brings up the command menu so you can assign tasks to each of your characters. So, you know, the motion controls never cause any real problems or rage quitting. Plus, I've got to say, I really enjoyed the combat this time around. When I played this a decade ago, I remember being disappointed by the automated attacking because I expected to have more control. But over the years, this style of gameplay has grown on me. It's like a real-time version of turn-based combat, so you tee up the moves and watch them play out automatically.
Ready.
I didn't think the AI held up too well, Dave. Take this lady, for example, who refused to let me in because cis soldiers aren't allowed.
The hidden backs don't care much for you, sap.
So then I just changed right in front of her.
You don't look like you're with the Vulkars or the Sith.
Master Jedi.
Go home, AI, you're drunk.
Ooh, hey, look at this. It's the Sith.
And the voice acting, Oscar-worthy stuff.
Yes, it's not all bad, the voice acting, and the sounds are incredible. They're all classic Star Wars-y sounding things. But yes, the stuff that is bad is pretty bad.
Yeah. And I can only imagine that the same guy popping up over and over again is an intentional nod to the upcoming Clone Wars.
I knew you boys would see reason.
I'd guess you've experienced many lonely evenings.
I've got 50 credits on me. I can't be seen talking with a common rabble.
Go away, same guy.
You don't have to kill me.
I also like it when the NPCs comment on your appearance.
Where did you get those clothes? A trash compactor in the lower city?
Oh, burn. I thought trolls belonged in Lord of the Rings, not Star Wars. And also in the cantina, there's a lot of galaxial racial profiling, like all the guys in charge of gambling and contract killing are all Hutts, which I feel is racist. Would it be called racism?
Speciesism? Speciesism?
Yeah, speciesism.
Some of the old school design doesn't quite hold up, especially the puzzles, and that's fairly common for re-releases. It wasn't long before I started missing more modern game design hints and tips.
You see, I actually liked wandering around aimlessly with no idea what I was supposed to be doing. Oh, Bajo, it's been years since I've done that. It actually felt refreshingly nostalgic. Games are a bit dumbed down nowadays with big flashing lights over the objectives and arrows leading you there in the first place. You know, back in my day, kids, we employed this thing called Wiles, and Wiles was basically downloading a playthrough from the internet. Although with a 56K modem, it took just as long to do that as it did to figure the puzzle out.
Those were the days.
Just turn around and go back the way you came.
I think it begs the question, who is this game really for? I don't think this tablet version is for newcomers because it is quite confusing and wonky to control, so it's really for people who want to replay it, who have played the previous one. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say this incredible game is 6 out of 10 on the tablet.
Yeah, look, honestly, I think the gameplay is amazing if you think of it as an interactive book. However, I love the nostalgia and I love the opportunity to channel my Dark Jedi, so I'm giving this 8 Force Chokes. Now, clothes are very important to the identity of video game characters because without them, you'd be able to see their genitals. Here to go into more detail is Goose. By the way, I can't believe we made it through that entire review without using the phrase fan service.
That's remarkable, isn't it? By the way, I'm sorry it's so hot in here today, but the air conditioner's broken and we need to get it fan serviced.
Although not physically made by hand or meticulously crafted from real material, a video game character's costume has the potential to elevate them to iconic status. Unlike characters in film and TV, most video game characters have just the one outfit. A good look adds personality, it enhances physicality, and if designed thoughtfully, can add some much-needed believable functionality within the gaming world. Link, the hero of Hyrule. Link wears his memorable green tunic, white leggings, a long Phrygian cap, and hefts an imposing Hylian shield and a shiny Master Sword. It's the get-up of a hero of legend and prophecy, and it's one that's changed very little over the years. A perfect example of how repetition can cement a character's identity. The long cap gives Link an impish quality, and the overall green colouring perfectly illustrates Link's relationship with nature, especially since Miyamoto was inspired to create Legend of Zelda after a formative childhood experience lost in a forest. One of the great things about Link's classic fantasy costume is its unisex nature. Cosplayers around the world, both male and female, can wear the simple costume with respective pride. One of the key concepts that character designers have borrowed from fashion design is the silhouette. Our eyes comprehend silhouettes much faster than the fine detail that goes into a particular look. There's a lot of cultural shorthand going on in the creation of silhouettes, and the same is true of game character creation. Ezio Auditore da Firenze. The distinctive hawk's head hood design of Ezio and his Brotherhood of Merry Assassins cast an immediately clear silhouette. The multi-layered costume emphasises the smoothness of his takedowns, while the always-up hood applies a mysterious aura. His costume functions to maintain anonymity, while at the same time exhibiting an almost regal importance. Ubisoft has struggled a bit to maintain this assassin's look across the different iterations of the franchise. The trait of the always-up hood and cloak gets repeated across a multitude of time periods, but they're always sure to add detail which call to the history of the setting. For example, the symbols of the city of Venice and the Medici family on Ezio's capes in Assassin's Creed 2. Lara Croft. In the 1990s, Lara went raiding tombs in a skin-tight green singlet and a ridiculously tight pair of bottom-hugging shorts, her tightly braided hair whipped behind her like a tail. Fingerless gloves and brown combat boots topped off what would become an iconic look. But aside from the double holsters and the rucksack, Lara's outfit was more figure-hugging than fitting. Lara's creator, Toby Gard, said he was inspired by the tomboyish comic character Tank Girl and pop singer Nina Cherry, going through 5 designs in the process. But Lara's look was contradictory. On one hand, it was bound to the idea of feminine individualism and self-reliance, but on the other, it was highly sexualized for male consumption. The first shots of Lara before the new Tomb Raider reboot's release had many speculating it would be more of the same, as we caught glimpses of her tattered pants and dirt-covered singlet. Fortunately, we were misled, as the new Lara sported a far more practical set of clothes that reflected her dire situation. Long, tough cargo pants, a more believable bust size kept under layers, the designers actually brought real clothes, hired models, and did eye-tracking surveys to perfect the look. Her tattered layers no longer highlighted her sex appeal, but signposted her trials in the face of adversity. Many game designers think of clothing as character development shorthand, as a way of describing a character without actually using the narrative. Bayonetta. This sexy secretary meets weird witch is the clothes horse for fetish wear in games. As a witch, Bayonetta was purposely clad in black, although this catsuit is actually made from her mystical hair that leaves her naked in moments of high magic. The pointy beehive hairdo was in lieu of a pointy witch's hat, and those large black-rimmed glasses were to give her an air of intelligence, even if they looked like an afterthought. Essentially, Bayonetta is the creation of game designer Hideki Kamiya, who wanted to build his perfect woman, or so he says. He got one of the team's female artists to sketch her design in the hope of attaining a more feminine approach to the character's sense of style. The result is a sort of absurd sexuality, but in a deliberate projection of a vengeful anti-heroine, a black widow whose alluring wiles will lead to your humiliating demise. With the development of first-person games, it became less important to clothe your main character because you rarely saw what they looked like. Instead, NPCs and enemies had to take on some of that aesthetic responsibility. Elizabeth from the recent Bioshock Infinite spins the idea of an iconic player character to a memorable companion who represents so much more to us than just a damsel in distress. The setting throughout is surreal, and Elizabeth's famous blue and white gown is just that little bit Alice in Wonderland, suggestively reminding the player of the madness of their situation. Lead designer Ken Levine said Elizabeth's costume was modelled upon comic book superhero outfits, using a simple two-tone colour scheme that would make her easy to identify against the elaborate environments. Elizabeth's initial look is more modest and innocent, almost princess-like with long flowing hair and a loose blouse.
Miss Elizabeth.
Hello! Oh, this is wonderful!
It's once she's exposed to the realities of Columbia that she cuts her hair harshly short, adopting more angular lines, the stiff collar and restrictive corset echoing her role as a trapped bird in a cage. And that neck pendant is an accessory that means more to you, the player, than it does to Elizabeth. Its purpose is to create a small, personalised moment that bonds you with Elizabeth just that little bit more.
Promise me that if it comes to it, you will not let him take me back.
Most of the looks associated with some of our favourite characters take their inspiration from what is just necessary to function within that gaming world. Therefore, their look is more utilitarian. Commander Shepard, the hard military commander from outer space, is clad in player-customisable segmented armour that is otherwise rather understated. That tiny stroke of red next to the N7 logo reportedly symbolises the blood that would be shed in the course of saving the galaxy. The use of red and white also appears on the shoulder pieces. In fact, originally the entire costume was designed to be red and white, but BioWare decided it made Shepard look a bit too much like a medic, so they pared it back. Solid Snake from the Metal Gear series is a perfect example of how a simple accessory can create an iconic character. That furrowed brow, wrapped in a wide blue headband, holding back his untamed mullet, it's classic Snake. In the very first Metal Gear on NES, Snake was actually designed to resemble Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese in The Terminator. It wasn't until Metal Gear Solid on PS1 that his look was really honed down to the navy blue bandana and sneaking suit, giving him an action figure simplicity. According to character designer Yoji Shinkawa, Snake's physique in Metal Gear Solid was based on that of action star Jean-Claude Van Damme, while Hideo Kojima was getting inspiration from Snake from films like Escape from New York, which explains why Big Boss and Old Snake have the eye patch of Kurt Russell's Snake Plissken. The evolving image of a similar but different Snake attunes the audience to appreciate the subtle differences which become so important in Kojima's universe. The evolution of game character costumes needn't necessarily progress towards more believably wearable or even acceptably tasteful fashion. Sometimes all you need is a fez. But a great look will forever be integral to the everlasting iconography of some of our favourite video game heroes.
Good game! Where did you get that? There's no way. Quite an entrance.
Fire Emblem Awakening is a turn-based RPG for the 3DS, and it's made by the same developer who make one of my all-time favourite games, Advance Wars.
The game hasn't left my 3DS since it came out. It's like a cross between my two favourite things, XCOM and Game of Thrones. If it just fired chocolate into my mouth while I played, I would probably never do anything else.
Fire Emblems have been trickling out of Japan since 1990.
Lisa, run. I mean it, go!
This is the 13th iteration, positioning you as a tactician in charge of a rebellion in a besieged land.
It is unfortunately a very traditional Japanese RPG action plotline, and by traditional I mean it's been done quite a bit.
What?
You play a character who wakes up without a memory, but you have prophetic visions of scary stuff. Come on, Japan, you've used that plotline already.
Yes, I'm starting to think the whole amnesia storyline thing will forever be a part of the gaming landscape. Now, Dave, I know that we're both mature adults, and neither of us picked a rude name just to get a cheap laugh with this game.
No way, poop face.
Really?
I think we can both agree that the storyline is a bit convoluted in general. There's time travel, magic swords, villages to protect. This is some of the finest turn-based strategy that I think we've ever seen.
Alas for you.
You have a grid with varied terrain, and you select units to fight against an enemy army. There's bonuses for hiding in foliage and fortified structures, and you always need to be a few steps ahead, making sure you're not leaving a unit vulnerable. You collect units during the course of the game and level them up accordingly to how often you use them. It's familiar territory for Fire Emblem fans, but this one does do some new stuff, and it pretty much does everything better and prettier than the previous games. And the 3D is incredible. It looked like I could just reach out and touch that grit flying across the screen.
Yeah, the 3D is quite exceptional in cutscenes.
Tell me, who taught you to fight like that?
More than any other Fire Emblem game, this version does a remarkable job of teaching you everything gradually over the first few levels. Concepts like leveling up your characters, what the various classes do, how to use items, and so on.
This version of Fire Emblem has two modes, Classic, which is permadeath, and Newcomer, where you can revive fallen units.
Weak. Sissy mode, that's what it should be called.
Hey, I'm Classic all the way, baby.
Unfortunately for me, it tries too hard to make itself accessible, which I think removes all the challenge from the game.
Classic mode is the way to play Fire Emblem because it makes every single decision you make that much more calculated. When characters reach level 10, you can use a Master Seal to upgrade them with a special elite version of their class. For example, a Cavalier can become a Paladin or a Great Knight, and these transformations are spectacular. And I like that because it gives you a little goal for the characters you like the most to get them to level 10.
Yes, they get a huge stat boost, get to use new weapons, get a fancy new set of threads, and if two characters fight side by side often enough, they start to assist each other in battle. Anything from lobbing a spell or an arrow from the sidelines to actually jumping in front of the other character while they are being attacked. Which is amazing the first time it happens. And when the characters help each other, little love hearts come out of their heads.
Aww. They do a great job of humanizing the characters, don't they? They have their own little personalities. Some of them are quite funny, some are plain arrogant, and some are both.
I love that all the characters have their own birthdays. If you visit the barracks from the map menu on their birthday, they get a little raise in stats and a present.
Street Pass is also useful. You can set up a team to send out and receive other teams, which gives longevity to the game. And there's heaps of DLC and random gifts for you, additional teams from past Fire Emblems with leaders to defeat and recruit.
I like Street Pass, but depends where you are. Like, in America, it's amazing. Not so great in Outback Australia. Although in America, I did meet Obama. I think a lot of the joy to be had in this game is from building your roster, building the relationships within that roster, and developing your characters.
Yeah, you're so used to RPGs that just develop one character or maybe a small team, but here you're pretty much building an entire army.
Yes, of badasses. The units are very weak and basic to begin with, but they level up quickly, and they do start you off with one tricked-out warrior to begin with, a badass knight called Frederick.
Yes, he's awesome, and he knows he's awesome.
Pick a god and pray.
Intimidating.
Very. I always struggle to keep everyone leveled up in this game, and arguably that's half the fun, but when you've got someone really low level and you're fighting tough dudes, you kind of have to, bring them in just for the last second to get a bit of easy, safe XP, otherwise they'll just get one-shotted.
Yeah, like you're holding down a zombie going, quickly slap them in the face! One early level has you babysitting a little villager named Donald. He's a farmer with a saucepan for a helmet. If you protect him and level him up, you get to use him as a playable character if you can be bothered to continue to babysit him. You can change his class if you get him to level 10, and getting him there is an incredible feat. It's like training a Shih Tzu to take down lions, and there's something really satisfying about having him leveled up as a great knight still with the saucepan on his head.
Thanks, friend.
Also, I accidentally hit a button on a touchscreen during the battle animation, and it switched to first-person view. A happy accident indeed. Watching the action in 3D from the character's perspective is incredible.
I love that there are so many options with the animations, because I like to play with all of those kind of battle animations turned off and everything sped up as much as possible. But when you go to a boss fight, it still plays out the cutscene for that particular boss. Fantastic.
Go, go!
There's also 3 levels of zoom on the map, 2 different ways to display character stats, and you can adjust the opacity of the map. I love it when you can tailor the experience to the way you want to play it.
Yeah, and the characters grow together too.
Yes, and they can even get married.
Yes, and when they do, they fight even better together. It is actually nice to see characters develop that bond though and really boost each other's stats and defend each other. I've really only got one tiny criticism of this game, and it's purely cosmetic. This is weird, Bajo. The characters have tiny, almost non-existent feet.
Well, apart from the feet issue, I take it you're recommending this game, Dave?
Absolutely. Just an amazing array of customization, characterization, brilliant mission structure, special abilities and items. Just too good. I'm giving it 10 rubber chickens. It's not a 3DS anymore. It's a Fire Emblem holder. What about you, Bajo?
I love this game too. I just love thinking about all the strategies, setting up those attack patterns and working with bottlenecks. And the lessons you learn from this game are so important, such as when you accidentally move your Pegasus into archer range for the first time. Oh, the pain. Oh. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game. So, did you guess the game for this week? I didn't. I've only got one working ear. It was Baldur's Gate from 1998. Originally released for PC on 5 CDs, the game was created by a 60-person development team, all of whom had never actually worked on a commercially released game before.
Go for the ice cream! Go for the ice cream!
And that development team was, of course, BioWare, who are behind this week's Knights of the Old Republic.
Next week, Hex will be bringing us all the latest games, news, and big announcements of E3 2013.
Yeah, whoa. It is time for me to unveil my masterwork. All right. The next generation of game console is finally here. Harkening back to a time when games machines were predominantly made out of wood. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Mahogany Station. The Mahogany Station is designed to appeal to an older generation of gamers by reminding them of the feelings they first had when they first laid their hands on a console's spectacular walnut finish, and designed to appeal to a brand new generation of gamers and introduce them to the pleasures of wood. In a post-Wii U and pre-X-Bone world, isn't it nice to finally have a console with quite a nice name? Anyway, don't take my word for it. Let's hear from some developers.
I just have to say, when I saw the console for the first time, I was blown away. Just the wood is so incredible.
I'm sure a paper zombie will go great with the Mahogany Stations.
Mahogany Station is hands down the toughest console to develop for. Now, the problem is that it's flammable, and we almost burned down half the office.
People kept throwing it into the fireplace all the time.
And then when you open it up and see all the hardware inside, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's only wood inside.
Oh,
we'll do whatever we can to get it running properly on Mahogany.
The Mahogany Station not only takes things to the next level, but the level after the one after that as well. Mahogany Station not only controls your house, but your entire neighborhood. It's an always online, offline console that will watch your every move, even when you're in the nude. Once in every 24-hour period, you will have to authorize your games. You will have to disconnect from the internet, then log back on, using our wireless dial-up internet modem. 56K. Now you can drop in on any of your friends' gaming system as a hologram.
Hey Goose, I see you playing Dark Souls. This boss fight's awesome. Let me help you. Done. Brilliant. Bye, mate. Brilliant.
And finally, Cat of Duty. Befriend your own cat and fight alongside it. The Mahogany Station. Wood into you like one?
Well, thank you very much, Dave Callan, for joining us here today. And Hex will be back next week with our E3 special.
What? I thought I was the new person.
No, just for today.
But I bought a house in Sydney.
Till then, Bajo out.
Dave out. Forever, apparently.